What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. So today we are talking about the brand new collection from ILNP, the Overcast collection, which is 6 brand new nail polishes that are all jellies with little flakies running throughout. Now, before we get into the review, if you haven't heard of ILNP before, they are an independent nail polish brand that is based in the US, and all of their polishes are 10-free, meaning they are free of 10 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They are vegan, meaning they do not use any animal-derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty-free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. Also, fun fact about ILNP that a few people have been asking me recently, if you didn't know, the acronym ILNP means I love nail polish, so very appropriate name for a really beautiful brand. But anyway, let me just dive into the swatches. Like I said, we've got 6 brand new polishes, so I'll swatch all of those, then we can talk a little bit more about my thoughts on them, pricing, availability, all that good stuff. So roll the swatch footage. So as with all my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today it's the ILNP base coat. So we'll start off with the shade Daybreak. This one is a sheer milky jelly in sort of this pinky peach kind of color, and then within that we've got some iridescent flakes that are medium to small, and then it looks like there's also a little extra sparkle in there that's super subtle, and I can't tell if it is holographic or if it's just that iridescent sparkle, but it adds a really beautiful little touch. I love the way that this one looked in one coat. It was super soft. It showed my visible nail line, but it wasn't patchy at all. So honestly, if you are just looking for a super soft wash of color on the nails, I think this one is perfect in one coat, but I did do a second coat and I also thought it looked beautiful there. It really softened that visible nail line, but you could still kind of see it through the nail, and having that iridescent flake in there with that milky jelly gave it an almost opalescent kind of effect, which was really stunning. If you want to make it more opaque, you can pop on a third coat, but I truly love the way that this one looked in two. Next up we have the shade Misty, and this one is very similar to Daybreak, but I would almost call this like the cool toned sister to Daybreak, because whereas Daybreak was that sort of peachy pink color, this one is in this more lavender kind of base that has a soft dustiness to it, and it almost gives like a little bit of a gray tone. So the purple is very subtle in there, but again, we get those medium iridescent flakes that give off a bit of an opalescent look, and then we also have that super subtle little shimmer sparkling throughout that I believe is holographic, but it's very, very subtle. And again, loved the way that this one looked in 2 coats. You could still see just a tiny hint of my visible nail line, but it was super softened, and I think that this color would especially look great over cooler skin tones, whereas I have a warm skin tone. I think Daybreak suited me a little bit better, but they're both absolutely stunning. Moving on, we have the shade Pitter Patter, and again we have the same type of formula as Misty and Daybreak, but this time we've got this milky blue, almost periwinkle base, and again we've got those gorgeous iridescent flakes running throughout, as well as that super subtle little sparkle. And this one I found to be a little bit thinner, so at first I did 2 coats, but I just thought that too much of my skin tone was showing through, so I ended up popping on a third coat, and I enjoyed it a lot more in that third coat. But even in 3 coats, I still felt like I got that super soft, milky, sheer kind of look. Even though you couldn't really see my visible nail line, it still felt very soft, and you could get all the levels of that opalescent, iridescent flake in there that looks so beautiful. And I just love that kind of soft winter vibe of this color. And then we have the shade Starlight, and this one, same formula. It's kind of that milky, cloudy, jelly base that has the iridescent flakes running throughout, as well as that super subtle sparkle, but this one was a deeper color than the first 3. I almost want to call this a deeper periwinkle color. It kind of had that bluish purpley tone, but it was also a little bit more grayed out, so it kind of gave this overcast, dreary kind of look, but then you get that gorgeous iridescent coloring as well that kind of just brightens it up. And this was another one that it took 3 coats for me to get the opacity that I liked. I thought 2 coats was just a little bit patchy, but in 3 coats it did give me full coverage, and you could still see the layers of all those flakies, and it was just super stunning on the nail. It feels like a perfect dreary kind of winter shade. Now the final 2 polishes I thought were a little bit different from the rest of the collection. This shade Rainy Days is the lighter of the 2, and this one is sort of this slate blue kind of color. We have a very slight warmth to that blue, but it's also very grayed out, and then we have flakes running throughout that are described on the website as being iridescent, but I thought that they looked more like a silver kind of flake. I didn't find that they gave the iridescent coloring that the rest of them did. And then we also have that little subtle sparkle running throughout that looks holographic. So this one was really interesting. I actually loved when it looked in two coats, like almost a little subtle galaxy going across my nail diagonally. I thought that was really pretty, but I did end up needing a third coat because I found it to be a touch patchy in two, and this really covered up my visible nail line and you could see the levels of that flake in there. But yeah, I thought this one was more of a silvery flake. It didn't give that sort of soft iridescent color that the other ones did, but still a really beautiful shade. Again, very kind of like blustery winter vibes. And then last but not least in this collection, we have the shade Thundercloud, and this one is a deeper gray jelly base. Again, we've got that flake running throughout that is described as being iridescent, but on my nails, I thought that it looked much more like a silvery color. And then with that gray, it actually had a really intense blue undertone. So as I was layering it up, I found that it almost shifted those flakes into a softer blue kind of color. And then again, we had that very subtle hollow sparkle running throughout. So really beautiful shade. I just love that juxtaposition between this deep gloomy kind of base color plus that extra little sparkle in there. I thought it was really beautiful, but again, I didn't see that iridescence. I thought that this one was a silver metallic flake. So here are all the shades together, and I truly love this color story. I feel like when you see them on their own, they look fairly similar, but looking at them side by side in a comparison, you can really see all of the differences, especially with that first row. The first shade Daybreak is that warmer peachy kind of tone. The second one, Misty, is more of a purpley undertone. And then we have Pitter Patter, which is that gorgeous periwinkle kind of shade. And I just love how seamlessly they flow into each other. I do love a jelly finish. I think it's so stunning, and I especially love when it's almost that cloudy, milky kind of color that we get here. I feel like I can definitely attempt to do a lazy gradient with these where I can just apply a gradient with the bottle brush, and I think they would blend together pretty nicely, but it would also be really beautiful for a Skittle manicure just because the colors kind of fade into each other so seamlessly. So definitely very impressed with that. I always love when ILNP does a collection where it's all the same finish but in different colors because I just love the uniformity of that. So those are the polishes, and as you can see, I really enjoyed these. I feel like the colors and just the vibe of this soft jelly with the flakies coming through really embodies that feeling of winter after the holidays. You know, before the holidays, I always think of the winter time in December as being like super sparkly jeweled tones and hollow and glitter and all sorts of stuff like that. But then in January and February, I always want to go with these like very soft, very moody kind of polishes, and not necessarily dark polishes, but like the soft grays and blues and purples. And I think that this collection is just the perfect way of showing that kind of feeling that I get that time of year. So I really appreciate that. Even though I'm usually not a huge fan of 3-coat polishes, I feel very differently about it with ILNP specifically because something about their formula just feels very soft and buildable, and it doesn't feel like I have 3 coats on my nails when I'm wearing 3 coats of ILNP. It's honestly so hard to articulate unless you've tried them, but I just think they're very buildable and delicate, and I think that's something that's very special about the brand. And honestly, when I think of ILNP, this is the type of formula that I'm thinking of, like these super delicate, fancy, buildable polishes that usually take 3 coats. But in general, I really enjoy this formula, and I really don't mind doing 3 coats on them. So yeah, now that you've heard my thoughts on the polishes, let's get into pricing and availability. Now, this is a brand new collection. It's going to be available for pre-order starting this Friday, December 8th. And all of the polishes come in 12 milliliter bottles. They do have what I like to call a medium wide flat brush, and they retail for $10 USD each on the ILNP website. But if you purchase them during the pre-order time, they're actually $1 off each. So they retail for $9 USD. So I have been making an effort to do my ILNP reviews a little bit earlier so you can take advantage of that discount. But yeah, I highly recommend these. I will link them down in the description. You can check them out if you're interested. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think of these polishes? What do you think of this color story coming out? And also, what do you think of them being 3-coaters? Leave it all in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I also have a second YouTube channel, my vlog channel, and I did start doing Vlogmas on there, which if you're not familiar with that, basically I am doing a daily video upload every day up until Christmas. So if you want to see a little bit more of my day-to-day life living in Vegas doing Christmassy stuff, definitely check that out. And of course, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon, my Royal Astronomer Amanda M, as well as my Cosmic Admirals Paula, Ken, and Rosie. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Ooh, this is a good one. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Juliet, and Juliet wants to know, if you chose a job that didn't include artistic talents, what would it be? That is such a difficult one because I think everything that I do and everything that I have tried to do has always been very artistic. One of my lifelong dreams that I would still like to accomplish one day would be to be a writer, and I love writing fiction. I'm constantly writing. Well, actually, that's not true. I haven't written in a while, but I started writing again, which feels very good. So one of these days, I'm going to make a book. It's going to be great. But that is also an artistic thing. And then I always think if I wasn't doing YouTube, I would be doing what I used to do, which was marketing, but I was doing kind of the front end of marketing, which is like the graphic design and social media aspect, which is also, I think, pretty artistic. So let me think about this for a second. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I do have a pretty steady hand, but I don't have the technical skills to be able to do anything too important with it. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I used to do treatment coordinating at a doctor's office. So people who needed to get certain procedures done, I would kind of talk them through the process of that. And I think I'm pretty good at, you know, comforting people and small talk and stuff like that. So maybe that's the kind of job that I would do. I mean, that is what I was doing pre-2020. So yeah, maybe that's a good thing. I could be like a treatment or surgery coordinator. I think that would be a good job for me because I've done it before and I think I was pretty good at it. But yeah, if anybody else wants to answer the question, I actually don't know what percentage of my audience has like more artistic or creative jobs versus people who have more technical, I want to say logical, but I know it's not the right word, but like non-creative kind of jobs. So let me know in the comments, what is your job? And then what do you think your job would be if it was something that was the opposite? And I will talk to you all in my next video. Bye.